movement, right? Who is requesting to annotate my shared content? Am I going to decline everybody? That I don't even know what that means. So my story. So you would see me upside down here. Yeah, it's been a long journey. So I learned from an early age to take care of my mind, right? And that's because my mother had big struggles with depression, and she had these bouts and had to get admitted with that. And when she got admitted, sometimes we will go through some homelessness, and we have to stay with maybe our aunt or family friend or something like that. So I knew from an early age, I didn't know how to articulate it well, or the science of it like I do now, but I knew that I had to take care of my mind because my mother was very supportive, very loving. But I understood that no matter how much you love something or someone, if you don't take care of the root system of yourself, of what's in between your ears, you can't show up for them. Period. That's a fact. You cannot. You will break down and you cannot show up for them. And at an early age, if you have children and you break down, what's going to happen is that they're going to have a a psychological association with that, right? For me, it was like my mother doesn't love me, and not going to get deep into that, but that has a profound aspect in the relationships that I had, and how I went about my relationships, whether it was friendships, romantic relationships, just anything going along with that, right? My bout with insomnia, I had a lot of sleep issues, exhaustion, was doing so many things because I was a hard worker, right? That hard worker badge, and you break down and you break yourself down. And I was falling asleep mid dinner. I knew there was something wrong there. I was like, okay, something needs to change. I would be eating, doze off, and just wake up and finish the bite that I was supposed to eat. Like that's was like, what is going on? Right. And then I had a debilitating injury later on in my career. I had a debilitating injury that took away my ability to walk and to work. Because how it started off was I was a personal trainer, and so my body was my means of making a living. So that was cut off, and from that, I had my dark night of the soul for the year afterwards, and I really empathized with people that committed suicide because I understood that it was such a struggle, and to get to the other point was peace, right? I used to judge people that took their lives because I would say they were selfish. How can you do this? How can you take a life? How can you leave the people that love you, and how can you do this to them? But it's really about, man, I'm struggling so much, and all this is going on, and I'm doing the best I can, and nothing's happening. I just want peace, right? So taking my life, that's peace on the other side, and I found the power of intention with that. And then I had enough of a system that didn't serve the people's real needs, right? Perpetuating the fitness industry, where come in more, 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 more. If you're not getting results, you have to come in more. You have to come in more, right? That was not touching on the basic nature of human beings in terms of the thoughts and emotions and the belief systems, right? Exercise and nutrition is important. Again, it is a part of the pillars that I teach, but it's the last pillar for a reason. And a lot of times we jump into that first. So that's a little bit about my story. I'll stop talking about myself now. Let's get to what came here to learn. The four elements of an energized life. So talking about your thoughts, your emotions. This is what we're gonna focus on today. Your purpose, your spiritual duty. This is what I talk about. Your spiritual duty. You came here for a reason, and your body's movement and nutrition. So what your brain is, what it's here to do, and what it's here to do is, and what it is a goal achieving machine. It's always going to get you to a destination. And I said a destination, not so much your destination. And I'll tell you why that is. Because your thoughts are not your thoughts. And I really want you to get that your thoughts are not your thoughts, and you are not broken. Because so many people think there's something wrong with them, and there truly isn't. And I'll tell you why everything is actually the way it should be, not on a like woo woo, oh, everything's supposed to be great and don't worry about, not on that, but really the nitty gritty in terms of what's going on in your brain, how your brain actually works and why things are happening. Now, when we understand something, we can control it and move it around, but you are not broken. There's one thing you get away from this, take that. There'll be other things too. Body shift. Oh, look at that. Surprise. All right. Switch up, switch up the position. I'm for one not going to practice what I preach right now because it might affect how I present and how I talk to you. So do it for me. All right. Shift your body into a new position and try not to repeat the old position. All right. There's not going to be too many of these overall. I'll let you know. There's probably going to be like 4, maybe 5. All right. We're halfway through. Got 2. So first thing is to understand the psychocybernetic loop. That's a mouthful. Just going to call it the loop. Not going to say it's psychocybernetic loop again. Okay. So what that is that there's always a pattern that you go in. And cybernetic means the art of steering. Comes from the Greek. The Greek word cybernetic is the art of steering. And how your brain works is that you have belief systems that go into your thoughts, go into your emotions, go into your actions, which elicit results. And those results have to support your original beliefs. That's how your brain works. Why that's important is because if you have an internal belief, we all have goals, but what happens is that we usually have a goal that's in conflict with a deeper belief that we hold true. For example, think about weight loss. So if you're trying to lose weight and you identify as an overweight person, what your unconscious or subconscious, they're interchangeable, right? What your subconscious is going to take in is that, hey, I'm overweight. And if I'm overweight, then I must do overweight things. So now you're in conflict. Your goal is in conflict with your belief system. Being able to go back and understand to see what is your belief system behind that thing. And one way to really take that in is if you're not getting the results that you want, there's usually a limiting belief. It's really, really that simple. It's when you delve into it, it's if I'm getting this result and it's not what my higher self wants, there's a limiting belief there. And this is why I say your thoughts are not your thoughts, because you think according to your beliefs. And why your thoughts are not your thoughts is that your beliefs are primarily not your beliefs. When we come into this world, right, for the first 7 years or so, you're in a delta slash data brainwave state. You don't have to remember that, but it's important to understand that it's almost like a hypnotic state of the brain. So whatever comes in, you don't question it, right? You accept it. Right? There's from 0 to 7. Now, I used to be pissed off at this. I'm like, why would nature do that? That's not fair. But when you think about it, it's ingenious because the people around you who influence you are there and alive. So your brain's first mission is to keep you alive, survival. So it's taken in. Hey, if this person's here, this is influential. Okay, I must take this in to survive. But now what happens is that we have conflict because our thoughts that happen later on, for some reason, they don't align with our goals. We get to a higher order and we want to experience something different. Goes into your emotions. And your emotions, again, energy and motion, you act out that energy. And that's going to be in alignment with the thoughts, which are in alignment with the beliefs. So if you're feeling lower vibrations on the emotional level, we'll talk about that later on. It's usually in alignment with your thoughts and your beliefs, which spew out into your actions, which give your results, which have to reinforce your beliefs, which is maybe there are no good women in the world, there are no good men in the world, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. Those results that those belief systems that you have, you are you need to see that pattern, because what happens is we have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And what it is that it filters out what we don't believe, right? Because there's millions of bits of information coming into you. Your conscious can't handle that. Your conscious handles something like 7 to 9 bits of information. Your subconscious can handle all those millions. So it always records. Your mind always records, your brain always records all your experiences. It's laying in your subconscious. Now your conscious is what's actually seeking the patterns that need to reinforce the original belief systems. I need you to understand that, because that's so important. If you think you're not smart enough, there's going to be a ton of information that actually show you, hey, you're pretty damn smart. But you are focused on, you have the blinders on, I'm not smart enough. So you're going to see all the evidence that support you not being smart enough. And then when you get into a discussion or argument about it, you say, well, I have this evidence here, evidence here, evidence here. With that, this is how I know. But you weren't open to all that was coming in. We can talk about beliefs for like this whole presentation, but I just want you to understand there's a psycho-cybernetic loop, and you are always the loop. You are always course correcting. Cybernetics mean course correcting, right? The art of steering. When a plane goes into flight, it's always course correcting to its goal. So from Los Angeles to New York, it's always going to be off, then it's going to correct. Off, then it's going to correct. And this is what happens with your mind. And what do you do with your focus? Make a decision, right? A decision is, it's not so much a choice. A decision, it means to cut out. The root meaning of the word decision means to cut out. Incision means cutting in, decision, cut out. So this is important because you're concentrating your focus and your resources, aka your energy, into that thing. Remember when I talked about you don't have an energy problem, you have an energy distribution problem. So you making a powerful decision, you'll understand, you'll see that you can focus your energy on something that's truly important to you. And when we talk about the purpose protocol, it's something that I go over with some of my clients as well, that we'll talk about later. This is where you can filter out things that don't make sense for you to go into and hone in on what you want. And when you're able to peel off things that don't matter as much or are not in line with your North Star, guess what you have? You have more energy to do the thing that you really want to do, because this is what we're here for. Why are you doing things that don't really speak to you? And the last thing is this exercise for this slide. So let's take 30 seconds. I can sip on, drink of water there. Went in. Take 30 seconds to write down a powerful and ambitious desire or goal that you have. Think about that ideal, all right? And we'll go 30 seconds here while I sip it. And this is going to do two things. I'll talk about the two things in a second. Yeah, we have like silent airtime. I know there's like not something to do, but we're doing it. I want you to write down that ideal, ambitious desire that you have. Right. But we're engaging. I told you we're going to engage. Nelly, I know we're still here. I can't see it, but I told you I was going to call you out. Write it down. Write it down. All right. So think about that ideal. You wrote it down. You look at it, and what comes up? So you two things with this. One, that powerful ideal is, in essence, your goal, right? This is you, and it shouldn't have anything to do with your mom, dad, spouse, children. This is your goal. But what I love about this is the other aspect of it, because we feed two birds with one seed here. It's now, since your belief systems usually run underwater in darkness, When you set an ambitious goal, it comes up. So I want you to pay attention to when you wrote those things down or that one thing down, what came up for you in terms of the things that told you you can't possibly do that, right? So it's there's not enough time, or I don't have enough money, right? Or no one in my family has done this. You know, that's impossible. These are limiting thoughts and beliefs, right? When we can dissect and go back to the true belief system. But now in setting that goal and setting that ambitious vision or goal, now you're forcing your beliefs to come up out of the dark, the beliefs that hold you back to come up out of the dark and tell you, oh, you can't do that. Now you say, I see you. Okay. Now we can play. Now we can play with that because it's been running your life and you had no idea. So now when you take that step forward, you know, oh, I know exactly what's going on here. The next thing with that, right? So leaving it there, I want to go into a big mistake I see people make. The big mistake I see people make all the time when we're looking at mind shifts. And it's this. People believe that because you're working on your mindset, mind flow, self-development, that you shouldn't have negative thoughts. And it drives them back into the negative thought pool. So you see that beautiful stream? I hope everyone can see this. You see that beautiful stream right there? I know I picked the picture that was so beautiful. I should have picked like a swamp or something like that. So that beautiful stream right there are your negative thoughts, right? We like to bathe in negative thoughts a lot. So when we're stuck in those negative thoughts, often think about you drowning in the stream. This is why you don't really see someone that's depressed or full of like chronic anxiety with high energy. Them two usually don't go together, right? Because in essence, you're drowning in the stream. You're drowning in those negative thoughts. You're just trying to keep your head above water. And what happens is that you make it to the shore. You did some of the work. You made it to the shore. And remember what we talked about where attention goes, energy flows. This is not a spiritual like woo-woo kind of thing. We talk about quantum mechanics, right? Wave and particle. We don't have to geek out on it and go deep into it, but the science behind focus. And what we know, what physicists know is that it's an observer created reality. So AKA what you focus on becomes real. This is actually going back to that reticular activating system in your brain. We have that mechanism, right? So what you focus on becomes real. Now, take that stream that you just escaped. And what people do is that they stay on the shore. See that if you go off to the right, I'm just having you go into my mind. If you go off to the right, you made it on the shore, you're out of breath, and now you're looking back at the stream and say, why is that stream still there? Like, why are these negative thoughts still there? Yet you are not drowning anymore. You made it out, but you're there and you're just wondering and you stay there and you're focusing on the stream. Now we take the concept of what you focus on expands, you give it life. Whatever you give attention to, you give life to. By you continuing to focus on the stream, what happens is that the stream becomes larger, right? It fills up more. And since you're on that shore, what happens is that you get back to being in the stream because you focused on the negative so much, you escape that you feel better, but then you start focusing on the negative. Why should it be there? Why am I still having these negative thoughts? Why these negative? Now you just empowered those negative thoughts more. That stream is elevated and getting wider. So now since you're on the shore and you've been observing this, you're now back in the stream and you're back to drowning yourself again. That's why it's like, oh, I feel I had some good weeks. Man, I feel good. I have mindset. I had some good weeks. And now I'm back in the rut again. And now I'm back because I'm wondering why I'm still having these thoughts. And this is the difference between observing and experiencing those negative thoughts. And this is what we're going to get into when we talk about emotion. Look at that statement. I feel better, but I still have these negative thoughts. Before you were in the negative thoughts, and you were spiraling down. But now you still have those negative thoughts and you feel better. And there's a reason for that. It's because of your emotional power. You create emotions are the things that give power to thoughts. So when you say I feel better, right? You have a better emotional feeling about something. But I'm still having these negative thoughts. Before you gave that those thoughts emotional charge. You gave it energy. You had an experience of negativity, negative thoughts. Now you feel better, which means you're observing it and you created space. So when you create space, that means you create space for something new. Remember that goal that we talked about, that ideal goal? This is where you start bringing some of that in, right? Because when we start thinking and feeling in a different way, you are literally, this is not just positive woo woo kind of stuff. I'm all about positivity, but let's put it like the boots to the ground. You are literally restructuring your brain when you start thinking and feeling a different way. It's called neuroplasticity, right? So you're starting to restructure your brain. And the reason why, is that you can only experience one thing at a time. Right? You can only be in a powerful or primal state. People say empowered or disempowered, beautiful or suffering. And we're going to go through those states because once you figure this out, once you understand these two states, beautiful things starts to happen. Like I said before, emotions are energy in motion, give power to your thoughts, serve as the compass to your life. And this is very important to understand. And are the energy signatures that your life vibrates from. Everything that has energy goes gets measured in frequency, right? It vibrates. Talk about the law of attraction. It's really the law of resonance. Who are you being, right? And you vibrate that way. Yes, there's both science and spirituality in here. I mix them both. Get used to it, or you're going to listen to me because I believe they're not so different, right? So this is where you're vibrating from when you have the emotional energy, and it should be a body shift time. Yeah, body shift time with that. Just gonna get some of that too. Try not to get in the same position you were before. Move around, body shift. All right. All right. I can't help but engage too, so I'll get a little. I get a little thing in there as well. So there's one big thing here where I like to focus on the heart. The thoughts are very important, but the heart is the center, right? I like to look at the heart as the command center. There's a reason why a lot of ancient teachings, ancient wisdom talks about the feeling, the center of the soul being here in the heart, right? When you feel something, you say, "Oh man, that touched me," and you actually touch the part, that heart, right, your chest area. No one says, "Oh man, that meant so much to me." You know, it's like, "Oh, that I love that." We go here. So you can take this. There's a mantra I live by. It's free. You go ahead and take it if you want to. The brain knows no answers. The heart knows no questions. Right? Really look at that and dig that in. Remember what the brain is here to do. It's here to get you somewhere. But your heart already knows what you want. You already know what, even if it's not intellectually, you already know what it is that you're here to do. You might have just not opened up space for that. And why that's the case is because you can have everything down on paper and still be miserable. Why is that? You checked all the boxes. Like you checked all the boxes, you did what you needed to do, and why are you not feeling the way that you just know that you can be feeling? There's something more to this. Right now, look at biomimicry in terms of what does nature tell us? Nature's been at this for billions of years, right? We get a little bit arrogant when we think that we know better than this process that's been around for billions of years. So the heart's energy signature is 5,000 times stronger than the brain. Heart math does a great job scientifically measuring the heart and its signature and what it means and different things with heart coherence and brain coherence and all kind of like that jargon. You don't have to remember that jargon. Just know that your heart and your brain should be connected, right? They should be synced. That's what coherence means. It means a harmonic wave. So why is the heart's energy signature 5,000 times stronger than the brain's? Why is it that the heart develops before the brain does in a fetus? Right? We develop the heart before the brain. Why is that? It's the energy signature, right? And before we get into anxiety and what it truly is, I want to go over the two states, the two emotional states, and understanding it. So we have the powerful state and the primal state. We could talk about beautiful state or fearful state. You know that slide that I had before. See if I could go back to it. Yep. This guy right here. So what that is anything that you feel in terms of empowerment, in terms of joy, love, solidarity, curiosity. These are higher vibrating emotions where you feel good. You're in the receiving mode. You're in the creative mode, and then you you focus on that, right? You feel good. Now, when you go into that lower vibrational energy, yeah, I'm making sure I stick to the time going through it. When you think about that lower vibrational energy, this is going to be more like anger, confusion, frustration, things like that. Right? And a lot of times we shun those lower vibrations. But if you understand this, if you get this, I like to call it the lower vibrational energy is lower vibrational emotions are going to be adjustments. Don't act on them. Right? You don't want to act on the lower vibrational frequencies. And then action part is the higher vibrational frequency, the empowered state when you feel the emotions. So now when you think of having those lower vibrational emotions, just think of it as a sign that you're veering off the wrong way. Kind of pay attention to it rather than shunning it. That little thing there, that simple thing there will give you that emotional agility. Not saying I shouldn't be feeling this way, right? And why that is we're going into the anxiety and what it is truly. How can we develop an ability to overcome what whenever it appears? How can we overcome this whenever it appears? And sometimes sometimes people define anxiety as looking at a future gloomy situation or very scared of uncertainty or anything like that. And I like to define it by the process by which you experience a future negative possible outcome. Right? A little bit better definition for me. I don't like to just accept definitions. I'm like, there's something more there, right? But I like to break it down even further because I like to understand, okay, what is it truly? This is still a description, but what is it truly? And if we simplify it, anxiety is really a misuse of your imagination. When we have a chronic anxiety and you go into this is going to happen, this is going to happen, I'm going to bomb this presentation, or what's going on. It's really a misuse of imagination, because what happens is that you have a process, so things have to happen, and then you have to experience it. Remember, emotions plus thoughts create an experience, and when we think about it, you have a possible outcome. When you think about this is amazing, because you're sitting on your couch freaking out about a future possible outcome, but you're experiencing in the now. This is where we talk about, like, physics and reality is stranger than fiction, right? You have the power to experience something right now. And what it is your imagination. So it's about turning it the other way and unplugging anxiety's power. So real quick, the power of questions. When we look at the word questions, the root word there is quest. You're sending your mind on a quest somewhere. So your quality of life is going to amount and really equal the quality of your questions, because you're setting your brain to seek it. Remember, your brain is a seeker. So there's some of the questions when you're experiencing a little bit of anxiety. Do I like the way I'm feeling right now? It's going to be a simple yes or no. Right? Then we flow chart it. Yes, keep feeling that way. Right? No, what's the next? How do we flow? Then we talk about, is this the only possibility? When I look at that negative outcome, like, okay, that might happen, but is this the only possibility? We know from the soup of the quantum field, there's infinite possibilities, and you're focusing on one. So we know for a fact this is not the only possibility, right? And what are some possible outcomes that align with more of a desirable feeling that you want to have? So when you look at that possibility, a negative possibility, a very easy way to get to the other side is, what's the opposite? If this is what I don't want, what's the opposite of it? And it's probably going to give me something I do want. And now you have your focus on that, and just experience, how do you feel when you're thinking about you not being enough, and you bombing a presentation, or not delivering on your children or your partner, right? They don't feel good, right? They sap your energy. That internal dialogue, when you go out and you're like, I don't want to talk to that friend, it's just draining. Think about the conversations that you have in your head. It's draining you. It's a draining conversation that you're having with yourself. So let's switch that conversation up. And there's a big misconception. People want more time. Especially entrepreneurs, I want more time. If I have more time, I'm going to live better. That's not necessarily true, right? Having more freedom of time isn't going to make your life better if you cannot manage your thoughts and emotions. Because remember, your brain is on that loop. And if you don't train and switch that loop up, then that loop is going to keep running. So if you're a very anxious person and you have more time, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have more time being an anxious person. If you're feeling low, right, and you get emotionally hijacked and frustrated at other people, you're going to have more time feeling more frustrated at individuals. So it's not just a time thing, it's a mastery of your thoughts and emotions and getting to that level. Body shift call. Ugh. All right, and we're going to wrap up here. And I just want you to know that you can do this. All right, you can do it. It's not an arduous, long journey. Change can happen like that, right? There's a client that I work with. He was very exhausted, and he was an entrepreneur, and he was having a launch. He needed to get his shit under control, like, because he was waking up like at noon, and his program had to start like at 9 a.m. So he was off. He's saying he was exhausted when he came to me, and I went deep into understanding who he was, his life mission, his habits, before creating a routine for him, right? And it's not something you just go and get. Because again, it's about you. I want to understand who you are. Again, it's not gonna be here, take this pill, take this food, do this. It's like, who are you and what are you going through to really get behind the root cause of that, right? But now what I'm most proud of is, one, yes, he implemented some of the things that we were talking about, but two, he will always know what to do if he's feeling low energy, period. We didn't work for more than a month. All right? And then single calls. These are things that just on a 90-minute call, getting into play, right? Conflict workshops, self-growth, yes, all these things in terms of self-growth and doing this and doing that. But if we don't understand how your body and how your mind and brain actually work, you're always going to fall back into the loop. Right? This is a very good friend of mine, dear friend, and you're going to have limiting beliefs that you know that were there, right? This is a health coach that I helped him out with in terms of taking his stuff out, taking his vision out. And last one here, again, change his mindset with positive energy and the belief system that we uncovered. Q&A time. And what I like to say about Q&A is that let's make this a safe place in terms of, if you have a question, go out and ask it. And to please respect anyone's privacy if there's a personal question being addressed, right? Let's be vulnerable, let's be open. And remember that I'm here to support you in that. All right. Real quick before that, body shift. That was another side. Got a body shift again. Okay. All right. We got some bonuses for you right there. And let me stop sharing. I think I can stop sharing now, right?
Sure. Yep.
Boom. On to you, Shauna.
Perfect. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will get going with some questions. It takes a few minutes sometimes to write. Few minutes.
Any questions? All right, so I'll go with one.
You're starting to see them. I have another meeting at 1. Great job, Juan. Love this today. Can you explain what you mean by very powerful versus primal, specifically on the primal aspect?
Yes. Okay, so the powerful state are basically those states where you feel kind of joyous and lighter, right? You have more access to your creative state with that. There's science in terms of brainwave state with it, but we're not going to go into it. But when you feel good, think about when you feel good. You know, when you are coming with love, compassion, curiosity, right? You're engaged. Primal are going to be those lower vibrational states in terms of fear, frustration, anger. You know, when we're confused, things that really give us friction and usually prevent us from going forward. When in actuality, we were never taught that those emotions are actually driving us to another place, right? Take for example, confusion. Confusion is something that I've learned to really value, because by definition, when confusion happens, that means you're exiting your known bubble. It means you're going into a higher state of knowing, right? Because if you weren't confused, then you already knew what you had to know. So by confusion, your brain is seeking a solution because it's challenging your normal paradigm, your normal way of thinking. So that confusion, people get upset with confusion and they get all flustered rather than saying, hey, I feel confused right now. I'm not saying I love confusion. I love clarity. So I'm not there to like, yes, I'm confused. But they're like, oh, I'm confused about this. Okay, I know what that means. I need to set some time aside, sit still and really check in on that. What am I confused about? What am I doing? What am I doing here? Where am I missing things? Again, those questions, right? With the intention to seek the answer for. Did that answer the question in terms of your primal state? These are your lower vibrational emotions that we've been taught to say we shouldn't feel this way. That's primal, right? And most people spend hours each day in the primal state.
Steven says, does it matter what I say or what you say?
I need clarity on that.
I think he's writing. I see him. I'll go to Lima's, and then while Steven's writing, I have a comment. I really love to exercise on writing a powerful and ambitious desire or goal. This was a great motivation for me to get to my goals and stop procrastinating. I love that you reminded us to think of a goal that we want and not what someone else wanted for me.
Oh, thank you, Lima. What's up, Lima?
And then another question is, what do you think of dairy and gluten-free living? I joined late, sorry, and that's from James.
Well, was it dairy and gluten-free?
Yeah.
It's going to be what works best for you. We know that most conventional dairy is not too good for the body in terms of how they raise the animals, and not what you eat, it's what you eats. Right? So now we're getting a little bit into the nutrition aspect of things, but yes, that you always want to think about the source. And if you really have an adverse effect to lactose or dairy, then yes, that's a viable solution for you. If you love dairy and you're like, man, this is not for me, think about more like goat's milk, because it's not as inflammatory as cow's milk. Think about milk is designed to make a being bigger by definition. So goat's milk is going to be less inflammatory, and always think about the source. With gluten, we know that many individuals, not just of celiac disease, but many individuals have an adverse effect to gluten. Celiac disease is just going to be a very profound reaction. It's like dangerous. But we know that a lot of times gluten does have an effect on causing leaky gut. And for the most part, almost everybody has some kind of sort of leaky gut kind of issue. right? But again, my premise is going to always be health does not require you to suffer to get there. So if you're thinking about dairy or gluten free and you are miserable going on the certain, and we can maybe discuss this on the platform on Facebook or anything like that. If that is making you miserable, then by definition, if you can eat as healthy as you want to, if you feel miserable or stressed, you are, it's really clearing the table with what you're doing. Because if you're eating stressed, you are actually not absorb, you're not going to absorb the nutrients that you need from that food, right? You're not having that experience. Because remember, when you're in that beautiful state or powerful state, that's the healing and restoring state. So if you're stressed out, your body will actually restrict your absorption levels because you're sending a signal to your body to pump out blood to your arms and legs. Like your brain doesn't know that you're on a diet. All your brain knows is that you're stressed, and it's going to create a stress response. And that stress response is going to be pump my legs and arms with more blood, take the blood away from my vital organs right now, because there's no reason to have vital organs if I'm in a fight or I'm fleeing for my life. This is also why we have some infertility and erectile dysfunction, right? It's that what your brain is perceiving as stress, other things take a back seat because you're freaking your brain out. A little bit long-winded answer, but it's always going to be contingent on what really your experience is. That's what it's all about.
So Stephen said, you said something early about this topic. What I say is important. So I think it says over the other person.
I think you might be. I think you might be referring to what your thoughts are not your thoughts, and something about you having your own goal. I'm assuming that's what you mean by that. Um, let me know if that's okay. Yes. So yes, your thoughts are not your thoughts, and what you want or what you say is more important than anyone else because you're living your life, right? So we know that that belief system that you have, that many of us have, when you think about it, this is freaking like mind blowing. You're like, what? Has been written by like a 6-year old, a 7-year old, an 8-year old, a 10-year old, right? Because you're very impressionable. So a lot of those beliefs or the things that are running through your head are not your thoughts. So once you understand that, and once you see, hey, I want to be here, and I have these limiting beliefs that are telling me I'm not enough or XYZ, and prevent me from getting there, you examine that and said, when did I decide? When did I decide that? Right? Because a belief is just a decision. It's not so much of this grand thing that just you can't remove at all. It's just a decision. You made a decision some point in your life that this is who you're going to be, an identity. And one thing you can do is you can examine that and you can change it. You can make a powerful decision to change that belief and say, I am this way. And one of the important things about that is to attach. Remember, thoughts are just thoughts. There's when we talk about visualization and the brain and the neuroscience behind visualization and things of that nature. But if you don't attach an emotion to something, then it's not real. Your body doesn't perceive it real. So when you say something, feel it when you say it. And there's a big aspect when we talk about goal setting, because picture this: we feel the negative things when it's like where I can never do that, and we feel low, we feel it. But when I say, hey, I'm gonna make X amount of money, or I'm gonna get this car or this house, we just say it. We don't really feel it. We don't experience that, right? We just have cold reasoning. And what your subconscious, which is going to bring you to that, what it reads is your emotions and your feeling. That's the language of the universe. That's the language of your subconscious. So when you set that goal, feel that goal. When you say something, that's when you do the time, you sit down for 10 minutes, do the time. When you look at that, attach an emotion to it. It should really choke you up. It should make some tears go in your eyes a little bit, right? You should get emotional about it because it moves you. But when you spend those 10 minutes, it's going to be probably the best return of investment you ever made, because it's really just 10 minutes to get clear on something. And if you want to get clear and clear and clear on it, but it's really going to drive the decisions for your life when you make that decision and you create that emotional environment of where you want to go. Your mind goes like, oh, right. And the brain doesn't know the difference between the fake world and the real world, right? Between your imagination when you feel it and something that's truly happening, right? Harvard did a study with pianists when they imagine themselves playing the piano, right? The same part of their brains light up. This is why visualization. I mean, we'll go deeper into this, but visualization has that kind of cutoff point with helping with some of that anxiety, because it's a fear of the unknown. And once you bring that visualization to you, your brain looks at it as a known. It's no longer unknown. So that's how your words have power. But you have to give it the power with the emotions, because you gave the negative the power, give the positive the power as well. Let me know if that makes sense.
So we just have two more comments. Amber said, thank you for this, Juan. My virtual classroom begins on Monday. Oh, wait a minute, shift it up. Teaching third graders this year. I love the body shift exercise. I will be sure to use this during my lesson. Colleen says, thank you, Juan. I really needed this. I'm a teacher and needed this reminder. I love the body shift. Lima, I agree. The body shift was a great idea, especially sitting through meetings all day. Jacqueline, thank you, Juan, for presenting. This was a really good reminder of shifting thoughts to be positive and not let them stay in a negative.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And again, like I talk about the attention and focus. It's really the most powerful thing we can do. And I'm really honored that you're here giving me your attention and focus, because you can, like, family, business, there's so many things there. So you to be here with me, I really appreciate, I really honor that. And I take it so serious. I know I'm goofy. I like to play around a lot, but I'm also very serious about getting to the next level and about you sharing your time with me, because hey, in a world with so many distractions, you're here with me, and I really, really appreciate that. I take that to heart. Thank you so much.
And our winner is Kat Campbell. So I just messaged Kat and asked her to email me her email address and her phone number. So Kat, I just put it in the chat. If you could send me your email address and your phone number, and I will send it right over to Juan. And maybe Juan can give you a little update on what the winning is.
Yes.
Thank you. That's exciting.
And let me see if I can, would I be able to screen share so I could just put my information up there one last time? Because I think Stephen asked for it. Anybody that wants to contact me, you can contact me at coaching@thrive212.com. And I'm not sure if it's letting me screen share.
I'm going to do coaching. I'm going to put it in the chat at thrive212.com.
Boom. Yes. And then I'm Juan Milan on Facebook. And we could chat there. Send me a message on Facebook. And if you want to have a bunch of free content on my Facebook group, that's what I just posted on the purpose protocol. 4 questions to really get clear on your purpose, rather than just like, hey, find your purpose and doing this and nonchalant. It's really bringing that the tangible aspect of things. But again, thank you so much for being here with me. I really, really appreciate that. Hand on the heart, hand on the head, all of that together. Again, thank you for being here. I hope that you can take this information and apply it for the next 10 to 30 plus years of your world. That was my intention with it.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye.
I just like seeing all the screens go. All the little things just light me up. So it's so simple. How to achieve more. Yeah, that
Okay. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I was making sure I don't go over too much. Didn't go
You
over.
did a very good job. I think people really, really liked it, and hopefully Kat will reach out to you, and if anybody has any questions or anything, I will forward them on to you, and you can kind of decide